time for Voice of Indie. Your hosts today are Beem Weeks, author, producer, and marketing monster for independent multimedia publisher Fresh Ink Group, and Stephen Gies, author, producer, composer, and publisher for Fresh Ink Group.
Greetings, everybody. Happy Wednesday, and welcome to another edition of the Voice of Indie podcast. This is episode number 82. I am your host, Beem Weeks, and with me is Mr. Stephen Gies from somewhere in Indiana, I suspect. How you doing tonight, Stephen?
I'm doing all right. I'm on the Ohio River, and I think it's between Indiana and Kentucky, so I'm way out here in the wilds. There's just craziness happening all around me. Went and saw the movie Uncharted this week. I'm going to recommend it. It was a fun, rollicking adventure, as long as you're with belief. If you think people can go flying out of airplanes and grab onto things and hold on and climb back in, and while somebody's hanging on to them and stuff, it's fun. And I also went and saw Kevin Hart live this week. He sold out 4 shows in Huntsville, Alabama, and put on one of the best comedy shows I've ever seen. And now he's announced a big North American tour, so if he's coming to your town and you like Kevin Hart, it's a great show. Have fun with it.
Yeah, he's a funny guy. Now, listeners, JennyWangAuthor.com, that website is now up and running, and you can go over there and subscribe to her newsletter, and you can even order an autographed, inscribed, hardcover edition of her book, Girl Wears Those Shoes, for just $30. So go over there and check that out. And while we're promoting this kind of stuff, one of our regular listeners, Verwayne Greenhoe, he has Chapter 10 of his Vela murder mystery story is now complete and on Amazon. He's also having it done as an Audible as he goes along. And the first 3 chapters are free. He said he tried Vela before without much success, but this story is up and running nicely. So get over there and show Verwayne some love and help him with that book there. So there you go. And listeners, if you want to participate, if you have a question or a comment for tonight's guest, you can do that by calling in or by going to Twitter, and here's how you do both of those.
Call 516-453-9902 right now and join us on air, or tweet us with the hashtag Fresh Ink Group in the body, and we'll read your comment or question live. That's 516-453-9902 or hashtag Fresh Ink Group. If you miss a show, find us in the archive in the Fresh Ink Group channel on YouTube, on Spotify, or under the podcast tabs at freshinkgroup.com, beamweeks.com, and stephengies.com. On YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe.
All right. So, the Ort Federation, To the Stars, the second Ort Chronicle by science fiction master Robert G. Willis Croft, is now for sale, pre-sale. It's going to be released March 24th, I think it is, sometime that week, 3rd week of March, and you should be able to find your ebook editions everywhere, no matter what you like, Kindle, Nook, Kobo, stuff like that. And the print editions should be pretty much everywhere. If it's not where you're looking, give it another day, because they are still popping up in a couple of last places. But here's the cool part. 99 cents during the pre-sale period. It's going to jump back up to, like $900 or something like that. Please. But during the pre-sale period, 99 cents. You can't argue with 99 cents. Get out there, get your order in right now. Be one of the first to download your digital copy when it comes out.
Less than a buck. Speaking of Robert G. Willis Croft, he was recently interviewed on Stanley Wheeler's blog spot. You can check this out. Just go online and Google Stanley Wheeler's blog spot, and you can find it. Or next week, look for the link in our newsletter. It will definitely be in there.
Check out freshinkgroup.com for everything publishing. Meet scores of authors. Discover hundreds of great books, plus audiobooks, podcasts, videos, trailers, free stories, free manuscript evaluations, and more. That's freshinkgroup.com.
Got a manuscript you want the pros to see? FreshInkGroup.com's homepage has a free evaluation button. Share your best work with the members at Fresh Ink Group.
All right.
Yeah. Country Music Hall of Fame drummer and Fresh Ink Group memoir author Mark Herndon. He played with the supergroup Alabama for almost 3 decades. He's going to be on Bruce Wozniak's Now Hear This podcast March 2nd. It's a pre-recorded interview they did a couple of days ago. Word has it they had all kinds of fun. So if you're a Mark Herndon fan, an Alabama fan, a music fan, a Country Music Hall of Fame member fan, get over there and check that out.
Yeah, and also here's the new thing that we're doing with the Voice of Indie Twitter account. Each week, like tonight after this show, I'll be pinning next week's live link to that account. So if you're wanting to listen, just go to Voice of Indie on Twitter. That top tweet will be a pinned link for next week's show. So it'll be there all week. You just go there, click on it. You can share it. And you can also, if you're those who are subscribed to our newsletter, you can also forward our newsletter to others. These newsletters always have the link to the show in it, plus all kinds of other cool info. So speaking of the newsletter, if you're not subscribed to it, here's how you can do that.
Stay on top of these podcasts and all things Fresh Ink Group with our weekly digital newsletter. New releases, videos, stories, excerpts, interviews, and more. Sign up now on the homepage of FreshInkGroup.com and be the one who knows what's what.
What?
Check out scores of Fresh Ink Group book trailers in the Fresh Ink Group channel on YouTube. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and spread the word.
Okay, let's get to our guest. First of all, listeners, I'm going to... What's that? Did you say something, Stephen?
No.
Okay. Listeners, what I'm going to do today, I'm going to do like I usually do. I'm going to read the bio, but then I'm going to play a little promo so you can get a little taste of what to expect tonight. So, recording artist Frankie Raye is currently in the studio working on her next album. The singer, songwriter, guitar player has been releasing original music since 2014 while maintaining a very busy live shows schedule. In 2021, despite the continuing pandemic, she had 388 bookings. That's a lot of bookings. While based in the greater Tampa Bay area, she has performed as far away as the prestigious Winter NAMM show in Anaheim. My cousin used to go out there all the time, where she also played at the House of Blues. She has also been on stages in New Orleans and Alabama, including at songwriters festivals. Her original music has gotten international airplay, and she has artist deals with both G7 Capos and Mogami Cables. And this is a little promo. right. So welcome
Now,
to the show.
I've done 80-something of these shows, Beem, wearing headphones, and the one time I don't have headphones with me, I have to listen through laptop speakers. That was a lot of fun listening to, Frankie. Thanks for sharing that with us.
Welcome,
Thank you so
Frankie.
much for listening. Thank you. Hi.
Now, that little montage there, a medley, I should say, of music, you've got a pretty eclectic set list. You run the gamut from classic rock to old school 60s stuff and just some really cool stuff.
Yeah, you know, that pretty much is just kind of what you have to do when you're doing just the basic gig type of things. You know, when you play at restaurants and bars and you're playing covers, you know, you don't know who's out in the audience. You don't really know what kind of music they listen to. So you kind of have to pick a little bit of everything. And, you know, there are classic hits that everyone wants to hear. So you get those in your repertoire. But it's, you know, I play at a lot of different places where the, you know, demographics might be a little bit different. So, you know, I just try to have a little bit of something for everyone so everyone can enjoy.
Well, you do it well. You've got some extraordinary pipes on you.
Thank
so
you.
How about we kind of let everybody know you're based out of Tampa these days, but where are you originally from, and where have you lived in your journey?
Well, I was born in Dayton, Ohio, and I grew up in a little town a little bit north of there named Greenville, Ohio, and it's this like super tiny little farm town surrounded by cornfields. Like the closest mall was across the border into Indiana. There's just nothing around there. So I did grow up in this kind of simple Midwestern town, you know. Things moved very slowly. Yeah, things moved very slowly, and it was, you know, humble. And then when I was about, I want to say 13, it was right before 8th grade, I think. It was August of 2002, I moved down to Florida with family, and it was kind of a culture shock because, you know, I don't know, it's busy and traffic wasn't something I was used to. I'm just like, I don't understand, why is it taking so long to get, there's just so many new things that I wasn't used to that you didn't really see in the Midwest. And of course, Florida is just a melting pot of people from everywhere anyway. So it was definitely, in a good way, you know, it was culture shock in a good way. I'm glad that I moved down to Florida because I love the state, and it kind of shaped me in a good way.
Yeah, I told you off the air, I lived down there in Florida for a couple of years, and yeah, it's a beautiful state and the warmth. We do have a bunch of comments kind of gathering on Twitter right now, so let's take a few of these.
Great.
Stephen, I'll do the first one.
I'll start first here. I'm on Verwayne Greenhoe, where he says, good evening. Using my best Alfred Hitchcock voice, good evening. Good evening. I hope everyone is having a good evening. Lisa and I have been busy working on the new house. Thanks for the shout-out, Beem.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we'll see that hashtag Fresh Ink Group right before showtime. That's how you get our attention, Verwayne.
Yeah.
And then, go ahead, Marlena.
Marlena, she's just given a shout-out for the show. She said, tune into the Voice of Indie podcast live now with the fellas. Thank you, as always, Marlena. And Verwayne has said, I have pre-ordered the pre-order of the Ort Federation to the Stars placed. Can't wait. Cool.
Yeah.
Verwayne also says, one more thing and I'll shut up. I'm about done with Something in the Water, and I love it. Get your copy tonight. There must be something in the water. Yeah, there must be something in the water. That's a good promotion there. A person reading it, and he's telling you to go out and get it. So go out and get it. Yeah. By Abigail Hugani. We also have a tweet from Robert Williscroft saying, beautiful girl, beautiful voice. That's a classy combination. Yeah.
Thank you.
And Dr. Helen Burrell put out there, recording artist Frankie Raye is today's guest. Wow. Singer, songwriter, guitarist. Frankie Raye is all that. Enjoy some at her. And then she posts your website up there, FrankieRaye.com. Yes. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
That last line was enjoy some auditory treats at her. You kind of cut out there, Stephen. Now, Marlena Smith said, Frankie, your voice is beautiful. I love the way you make the songs your own.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. So nice.
So we know where all you've been. In the early days, what kind of kid were you? Were you into music really young? Is this something you discovered when you were a little bit older? And then what'd you do with your music? Did you take training, have lessons, get serious, or just have fun?
I was always into music. I was lucky enough to have been born into a family that was also really into music. I mean, as early as I remember my mother and father were always in a band together, and, they both played guitar and sang, and then all my aunts and uncles played guitar and sang, and then my brother played guitar as well. So I was lucky in that, every time, there was a family reunion or a family get-together, it was just everyone brought their instruments, and the whole house was just music, and people are harmonizing with each other. And I was just really lucky that I got to grow up in that kind of environment. So naturally, music was just such a part of my life. And I kind of, growing up, I kind of thought everyone did music just because it was so normal to me. And then as I started, making friends and kind of seeing like, oh, there are some people who just don't know anything about, like, I knew who the Beatles were when I was like 3, you know what I mean? Like, I could talk. And then, so it was like, people say like, oh, I was a kid and I was, I'd be naming off all these artists, like, oh yeah, I like that song by the Eagles. And they were like, you're 4. How do you know who the Eagles are? And I was really lucky in that. Yeah, like I always was able to get my hands on, just anything music. And it really was my life. I mean, I was kind of a shy kid growing up, kind of like socially awkward, little weirdo. And I would just go, and I remember, I mean, this was like early. I was probably like maybe 7 or 8. I remember I was reading through Jules, her debut album. I would read through her lyric books, and I would read through Alanis Morissette's lyric books and the CDs, and I would just like pay attention to what they were saying and really focusing on how to add lyrics to music. I mean, before I even knew what songwriting was, So I definitely, I was lucky. I always had music around me, and I was, like I said, I was kind of a shy kid, and I didn't really do much, and music was kind of all that I did. That's kind of what kind of kid I was. And I never really took lessons just because I had so many family members around that would show me, chords here and there. And then when I got a little bit older, probably around high school age, I got really into musical theater. So I was still songwriting, and I was still playing guitar and doing all of that, but I got really into the performance aspect of musical theater. So I had a lot of training in that. And for a while, I thought that was the direction I was going to go. I applied to a couple schools in New York. I got accepted to one of them, and then I was just like, I don't know if I want to do like Broadway stuff, because I'm not interested in dancing. I wasn't interested in acting. All I wanted to do was play guitar and songwrite. So I just kind of kept doing that on my own. I mean, of course, growing up, I always did choir, and, I did all of that. Any elective I took was music related in some way. And I was in voice lessons. So that's probably the only formal training I had would be all of the choir classes that I took, and then vocal training. So, but yeah, other than that, guitar, I kind of just learned on my own.
Cool. Now, you say your parents both played in bands. What kind of music did they play in these bands? And did they play professionally at clubs and bars? Did they record?
They pretty much just played professionally at clubs and bars and events. I know my mother, even way before I was born, she was in a pretty popular local band, like a wedding band kind of thing. So they pretty much would let the event planner or the wedding couple or whoever, they would kind of curate their list. So they pretty much did what I did. They did covers, popular covers that people know.
So they didn't have any specific genre? They weren't like, they were a metal band?
No. They were just kind of like a generic, like a band, like, oh, we need a band for our wedding, and here are the songs we want them to learn. And they would, they'd be like, oh, okay, well, we'll learn those, and then they would do it,
Yeah, take it from somebody who used to do that when he was in high school.
Yeah,
you're going to
Steven
play
did.
a big banquet or a wedding or a moose lodge or something. You got to be able to play polkas. You know, if that's what the crowd is calling for, you got to know some polkas. You know, and you got to know those hard rock songs. You got to know some country. You got to be ready to go with the flow.
Yeah, that's exactly what they did, and that's what I try to do to this day too, myself with my own gigs.
Yeah, back in the 80s, I used to practically live in a local club up here. This was a big Midwestern club, and bands like Aerosmith and Cheap Trick and Kiss, and most of the 70s bands all cut their teeth there. Bob Seger, they all played there. By the 80s, they had gone pretty much all metal. And the cool thing is these were metal bands, but they would do cover songs, and some of the covers weren't necessarily metal. They were pop, but they would, make them metal. So even if you weren't a metal fan, you knew some of the songs that these guys would do. And most of them had
absolutely.
Too, so they would do their original stuff, but you'd get a lot of covers. That was always cool to listen to somebody's interpretation of a pop song as a metal song.
Yeah, I like that stuff.
All right, we are going to play a commercial here for Robert G. Williscroft's Second Orc Chronicle book, so take a listen.
Now, from science fiction master Robert G. Williscroft, the Oort Federation, to the stars, the Second Oort Chronicle. As the Oort Federation becomes a major force in the solar system, Braxton Thorpe passes the Federation chairmanship to former U.S. President John Butler. Thorpe's group offers humanity virtual immortality, but Isidore Orlov and his Udachni enterprises oppose their every move. While Thorpe's group terraforms Mars for more living space, the Mars Reds prove formidable as resistors. If the Asterian Starship fighter pilots are released, will they align with Phoenix or Udachni? And who will develop the right FTL technology? In this tense space adventure, Thorpe, his team, and Max the Tabby Cat travel to Proxima Centauri and beyond to the Aster system, 84 light years distant. Will Thorpe bring together humans and Asterians in their quest for intergalactic travel? Will long life prove more than mere humans can handle? Grab Icicle, a tensor matrix, the first Oort Chronicle, and continue the journey with the Oort Federation to the stars. Proudly published in all print, digital, and sensory-enhanced audiobooks by Fresh Ink Group.
All right. Listeners, if you want to join in this conversation, if you have a question or a comment, feel free to pick up that phone, 516-453-9902, 516-453-9902, and we'll take your call on the air. Or you can hashtag Fresh Ink Group in your tweet and leave a comment or a question there, and we'll get to it. Now, composing process. You're working on your own material. What's your composing process, your writing process? Do you do this solo? Do you have other people working with you?
So it's mostly solo. Actually, it's pretty much always just me. I wish I had a more structured way of creating. It kind of just all comes at me in like weird little bursts. Like I just wrote a song last week, and now I'm already like thinking of having other ideas and stuff. But I usually start, to make it simple, I usually just start with a chord progression. I kind of fiddle around with my guitar, and then I get a melody that I, feel comfortable with. But my thing, and I haven't decided whether this is a good thing or a bad thing. I feel like it kind of sabotages me a little bit. But what I do is, for some reason, it's like I have to have the entire song written first before I even start with the lyrics. So it's like I have to have my melody for the verses, and then I have to have it for the chorus, and then before I even start writing lyrics, so it's like I have to have the bridge. So I still have songs that it's like, they're 3.5 minutes long, but they don't have any lyrics, but yet I can hum every single like, melody that I want to happen. And even in my head, I can hear what I want the final product to sound like oh, this would be cool to have horns right here, or oh, we should have a breakdown here where it's just clapping in the background, or so I like doing all that stuff. But then I meet other people who it's kind of, they do lyrics and melodies at the same time, which I do that as well. And sometimes I write lyrics first. Sometimes I just go in my journal and, I'll write out, a few poems, but then I have to go back and chop the poem up because it doesn't work with whatever melody I come up with, but so it's random. It's kind of just whatever I feel like at the moment, but it's usually me alone, somewhere quiet, dimly lit room. And like last week when I finished this new song that I wrote, which I'm actually going into the studio this Friday to record it, so I'm really excited about that. But there was one moment where I don't know if I zoned out or what, but I was just staring at the page. I mean, and probably like 20 minutes went by, and it's almost like I wasn't thinking of lyrics, but I was like trying to get into the vibe of the song. Like, I don't know if this makes any sense. And then it's like I kind of just meditated for a minute, just staring at the page, and then all of a sudden, it was like poof, I just started penciling down all these lyrics. They were just coming to me, like I wasn't even having to really think about them. So I don't know, I guess I almost have to sometimes get into this weird like meditation zone to kind of free my mind up first, and then it's like the song just kind of writes itself after that. It's a weird experience.
Yeah, there's
kind of scary. Kind of freaky.
There's a lot of the big names that say that that's kind of how their process went, where these songs would just come to them. And Paul Simon was a good one for that. He talked about how he doesn't know where half those songs came from. They just came to him. It's like he was channeling something. And Paul McCartney, the same way.
Yeah, so and then I go back to look at the lyrics. Yeah, and then you go back to look, and it's like you almost don't remember writing it. I'm like, how did I come? Like, I wasn't consciously trying to think of this. It just, I don't know. It's bizarre.
Well, that order of layering has always been fascinating to me. I wound up doing a lot of TV commercial compositions where there was singing in it, and the lyrics would be given to me. So I'd have to start with the words, but I would never worry about that melody until last, absolutely last. To me, it was always the chords and the rhythm, and everything had to be perfectly worked out, structured, and ready to go. Then I was free to play with the melody. And most of the people I worked with told me I was weird, because many of those people kind of did it the opposite.
You're still
trying
weird.
To get that melody, and then you find which chords go with the melody or whatever. I just, and like when I write a novel, I'm a hardcore outliner. I like to have it structured, organized, and know what I'm going to do, and then play and have fun with it.
Yeah.
That way too, like Peter Gabriel, for example. I have old bootleg recordings of him doing his songs before he knew the lyrics. So he's just making up words and lines and stuff.
I've got Beatles demos with John Lennon just making up nonsense. Where he's going to put the words.
Yeah, I've heard some of that stuff too. But yeah, for doing the melody last, that does sound kind of bizarre to me because. Well, maybe it's because of the way, all I do is play acoustic guitar. I don't really know how to play anything else, so I don't have the ability to, like, produce a whole song first. It's kind of, the only thing I have to work with really is the melody, because my chords are usually pretty simple. I'm not, like, this insane finger-picking, guitar player. I kind of just play basic chords. So really, when I write, it's melodies, like, almost always first. And I have a lot of poems, because I write just on my own, not for the purpose of writing songs, but I usually have to go through and sift through a bunch of poems and then, hope that I find one that fits.
We do have
tell
a
us
comment.
about this album you're working on now.
What was that? Sorry.
Tell us about the album you're working on now, and the one that's got Theodora on it.
Yes. So, I had plans to start on this, obviously, a couple of years ago, but as we all know, pandemic kind of put a hold on all of that. So Theodora was the first thing that I recorded. I actually recorded that in 2020. My roommate at the time was he was a recording engineer, and he had the whole setup in his bedroom. So it was kind of like, well, can't leave the house, so let's just record some stuff. So it was really awesome. So that, super impressed with how it turned out, just considering the fact that it was, just in a bedroom. But when I recorded that, I didn't see any end, and so I was like, I don't even know when I could even do an album, so I'm just going to focus on the single for now. So that's already been out for a while. As I'm recording the album, I might make a different version of that song just to have something different. But
that'd be cool.
This album, yeah. When you see that all the time, you'd have like the radio edit version and then the album version, and so I was like, that wouldn't be too bad.
And then the all acoustic version.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this process is a little bit different. I in the past, I've always been super structured, I would like to have all the songs like completely like the entire album finished and written before I'd even go in the studio, which, that's normal. That's a good thing to do. But I feel like my process is different this time because I'm understanding that singles are kind of what everyone's doing now. We don't live in this world where it's like people are sitting down and listening to full albums. I mean, they are. Like, I have people that have, they still are.
That's a bummer, though. I mean, because that's how people are doing it now. They're releasing singles or, 4 or 5 song EPs that the whole album, I have a massive music collection on CDs. I mean, over 1,000 CDs. I still listen to the album. I still want to hold that in my hand and read the liner notes, read the lyrics, and that's the way they do it now. Yeah, get the whole story, the artwork.
And I love that too. That's why, I'm definitely going to, I've, like I said, I'm going in this Friday to work on one song, but in the past, like when I would go into the recording studio, it's like I record a song and then it's like, okay, well, what's next? Like, got to get this album done. And I'm going to take my time with this one. I'm not going to rush to try to release an album by this date, but I am rushing, or I am kind of staying on top of releasing singles first. Like when I go into the studio, I'm kind of just focusing on that song, and I'm not really thinking about any of the other songs that would be on the album. So, in fact, some of them I've already, like I was saying earlier, I've already had so many ideas for new songs that I'm kind of, I don't know, this album might turn out completely different than what I had intended it to sound like, but I'm pretty excited. It's a slow process so far, but I think it'll be really good. I don't really have a release date at the moment. But like I said, this Friday I'm going to work on a single, so hopefully I'll have that out within the next month, maybe month and a half.
Cool.
Great. Yeah. So I'm ready to hear Theodora. How about you, Beem?
Yeah, before we do, let me run over here to Twitter real quick. Marlena has posted a comment. She said, words were my first love. Marlena Smith, she's an author, a writer. She said, words were my first love, but music has always been a close second. There's something about music that soothes your soul and puts you in such a good headspace. And I agree. Music to me is life. I'm a writer. I love writing, but to me, music is just, that's what feeds my soul. So, that in the Bible. So, but it's, music, man. I love music, all kinds. All right. So we're going to go ahead and play Theodora and let our listeners have a taste of what you were just talking about.
There, mister, she didn't let you kiss her. Is that why you take it out on me? My words hurt your ego. It's not up to me, though, to fight the battle in your head. I've seen a million like you who can bear to be ignored by a young, pretty girl's eye. Like your anger is justified just 'cause you got denied, like you're some kind of god. But God's long gone, and so are the days where anyone needs to be safe. You think you know what you don't understand. You'll never understand. I wanna be like Theodora, the days of the Byzantine, the courage of a warrior, the respect of a king. Everyone's a victim when the pride is on the line and you're nobody. You're just another guy. treat you right? Did your daddy put up a fight every time you start to cry? Inferiority's a bitch, I know. Egomaniacs steal the show, and I'm sorry you never got your chance. Oh, but I'm not crazy, just a little uptight from all the knives being thrown and the stupid little comments about every move I make. I never asked. I wanna be like Theodora in the days of the Byzantine, the courage of a warrior, the respect of a king. Everyone's a victim when the pride is on the line and you're nobody. You're just another guy. You're just another guy. And oh, I know you wanna be the big shot at the bar. Oh, and how dare a little thing put you in your place. Now you're trying to save face, and you're so mean. Oh, I wanna be like Theodora in the days of the Byzantine, the courage of a warrior, the respect of a king. Everyone's a victim when the pride is on the line and you're nobody. Yeah, you're just another guy, and I'm like Theodora in the days of the Byzantine, the courage of a warrior, the respect of a king. Everyone's a victim when the pride is on the line and you're nobody. You're just another guy. You're just another guy. Hey there, mister, she didn't let you kiss her. Is that why you take it out on me?
Yeah.
Theodora by Frankie Raye. So
Yeah.
where did the idea for this one come from?
So I guess to start, my undergrad, what I did in college, bachelor's, was in art history, and I remember we were studying the mosaics in Ravenna, Italy, in one of the churches, and there's a mosaic of Justinian, the emperor in the Byzantine era, and then his wife Theodora, and I just remember learning about how she was like basically just the best, like the best. Like she was the first women's rights activist. She would set up, even back then, she would set up housing for, you know, runaways or young girls or, you know, peasants, and she was always helping. And she was also very into politics and all of that. So she was definitely a well-respected woman in that era. So she was always someone I knew about, you know, and I kind of always just had that in my mind. I knew who she was. And with Theodora, when I was writing that, I had gone through this experience where I was at one of my gigs, and I finished up, and I was waiting for my check, and I was sitting in a chair, and there was a gentleman who was sitting a few feet away from me, and he was just extremely rude and vulgar and saying like really inappropriate things to me. And you know, and I'm technically it's my job, like I'm there at this restaurant and I'm representing them, so rather than say anything to him, I just kind of politely like just pretended like I didn't hear him, and I grabbed my things and I, you know, quietly kind of walked off because I was like, I'm not going to engage with this person. And he got really upset and was like calling after me, and I just got really upset because I was like, you know, I was just sitting here minding my business, and then you kind of entered my space and started saying all these inappropriate things, but now you're mad at me because I'm the one walking away. Like, you're the one that came onto me first, you know? So I just was kind of just like the nerve and the audacity just kind of blew me away. But when I started writing that song, again, it was another one of those moments. I had the melody already pretty much worked out. And I think the opening line, the "Hey there, mister, she didn't let you kiss her," I was trying to rhyme those two. And that was before I even knew what I was going to write the song about. I was kind of just focusing on the, I don't know how to describe it, but the sound of the words rather than what the words actually meant. I thought like saying, hey there, mister, like you're a mister, you're a guy, and then kiss her. I kind of liked how those kind of rhymed. So I wrote that down, and then again, I just started remembering that experience. And I wish I could remember the moment where Theodora popped into my head. I don't know. I remember, I don't know, maybe I looked at one of my art history books and it kind of reminded me of that. And I think the Theodora, like that, I liked the way like those syllables landed on the melody. So I kind of just started working with that, and of course I changed the lyrics a lot, but that's basically kind of what inspired that song. But again, it's just one of those weird moments where something was channeled, and that idea, like Theodora in the days of the Byzantine. I was like, oh, that's awesome. So I just kind of took that and mixed it with my experience, and that's kind of how it all happened.
Well, that's a cool song.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
So your song Brave now, you didn't put out a video for it right away. It was more than a year later that you got around to making a video. What's the story behind that?
It was. So I had no plans originally to even release a video. It was kind of one of those things that just I wasn't, because I didn't want to do a video unless it was like really good, and I knew it was like I really need to put time into it, and so I didn't really want to. But then I had actually met with the gentleman who produced the album Brave. I met with him in, I think, this would have been like late 2020. We had a little Zoom meeting because I was thinking of like, hey, whenever we're allowed out of the house again, I'd like to really start working on this album. And he actually suggested, he said, look, in the meantime, you know, I really think you should release a video. He's like, you don't really have any videos. I had some promotional videos. I had videos that were professionally taken of me performing live, similar to the one that you guys played at the start of the show. But he's like, no, I think you need to have like a well-produced, like actual official music video, and which scared the bejesus out of me, because I was just like, I don't know anything about that. I was like, what's my treatment going to be for the video? And then I don't like the whole idea of singing into a camera, and I don't like that. I don't like looking into cameras. I don't like that whole kind of acting thing. So I kind of was brainstorming, and I had spoken with a friend of mine, Blake Cortez, who had taken pictures of me before, but I knew he did videos, and I was saying I want to have a bunch of people in the video. I kind of had the ideas with like holding up the signs, and because at this time, this was November of 2020, this was, you know, everyone knows the chaos that was happening at the time. There was, you know, a lot of social changes, and everything was just kind of shifting, and things were really changing, and it was a very powerful time. So I had the idea to have those phrases on the signs, but then I was like, well, we're still in the pandemic. Like, how am I going to get people together? And it was actually Blake Cortez who had the idea. He's like, well, I mean, we'll just wear masks and Brave on them. So it's like, I mean, it's the name of the song, right? So it's just like, well, yeah, okay. And that's that word, brave, is what the song is about. It's like being brave in the face of all of this, you know, chaos. So, yeah, so that's pretty much how I got the idea for the video. And then the gap between the album release and the video was just because I didn't really plan on it. And then my producer, Joe Kosas, he was kind of pulling my arm. He's like, you should really just do a video. So that's kind of why there was a gap there. But also the things that were going on in the world, I felt what the song is about. I thought, yeah, absolutely, that should definitely be released. In fact, I released it on Election Day. So I was like, it's going to be a big day. But, of course, we didn't know the results on Election Day. So, but, you know, yeah. So there's kind of some, a little bit of a, I guess, political agenda with my releasing it at the time that I did.
So people can find it on YouTube in your channel, that's right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's on YouTube and my website and all that.
And what is your YouTube channel?
My YouTube, in fact, all of the handles for all of the social media websites and YouTube, it's all Frankie Raye Music, Frankie with an I-E, R-A-Y-E, and music. And that's the handle for all the things.
All right. Well, I enjoyed the video for Brave, and
yeah.
After we played Theodora, Verwayne Greenhoe on Twitter said absolutely beautiful. So we're going to play Brave now and see if we can
thank you.
Verwayne for that too.
All right. This is Brave by Frankie Raye.
if a boy couldn't do much harm. They never gave her her truth, the truth that lies beneath their white smiles. But all of us know what this is about, boys. It takes all we have just to be saved. It takes everything we got just to be brave in our hearts. So everything we work for, all the walls we pushed and the love we made, brave in our minds. So everything we ran from, all the bonds we built and the hate we faced. Just to be brave. His only plan was to save the world. Loaded and ready, he gave them what they deserved. And he saw his skeletons in their smiles. He knew he couldn't laugh long. But the trigger was pulled and we'll divert the blame now. Because it takes all we have just to be saved. It takes everything we've got just to be brave in our hearts. Everything we worked for, all the walls we crushed and the love we made, brave in our minds. Everything we ran from, all the bonds we built and the hate we faced. See, maybe we're the only ones left to blame, ignoring the truth and the shame. See, maybe we're the only ones who can break the chains and be brave in our hearts. Oh, through everything we worked for, all the walls we crushed and the love we made, brave in our minds. Through everything we ran from, all the bonds we built and the hate we faced. Just to be brave. I wanna be
All right, that was "Brave" by Frankie Raye. That's it. That's all right. Check and see if we got over here on Twitter, and we do, of course. All right, so Marlena Smith said the song is beautiful, but the behind it adds a special element to it. You have such a talent. Happy I'm getting to meet you and hear you through the Fresh Ink Group, fellas. All right.
Oh, thank you. Nice to meet you too.
Ooh, we're the Fresh Ink Group, fellas.
And Verwayne Greenhow says to Marlena, amen, 100% agree. So
all right.
Looks
I
like
agree
you're
too.
picking up
Thank you.
You're picking up
Cool,
some new
thank you.
fans here tonight, which is cool. So,
And Verwayne,
That's exciting. Thanks.
so you might get him out to a live show.
yeah, he lives in Florida.
That's great. Cool.
So you've got 2 albums out. How'd you come up with covers for those?
So those were pretty simple. I mean, I had just scheduled a photography shoot and just picked the one that I liked the best. You know, for my first album, I was I didn't really have the funds for kind of a professional photo, so I had a friend who could take photos, and she took one. So the cover of that one, it's not the most professional in the world, but I was just starting out, so that's fine. And then for Brave, I really liked that headshot just because, I love the glasses, first of all. I think it's really cool to have like little round glasses, and I like that it's, I'm not really smiling, it's not cheesy, it's not anything like that. It's just me being honest, looking into the camera, which is my thing. I always in my songwriting just try to be as honest as possible, even if it's, not the most comfortable topic or whatever it is. So that's kind of how I came up with that, and then just threw my name on there, and then Brave, I knew I wanted that to be the title of the album. So yeah, no crazy process was coming up for the album covers.
So have you had a lot of interaction with fans, people coming up to you after shows and telling you what your music means to them? Any stories, anything like that?
Yeah, it's really cool when, I see, so because I live in a very tourist-heavy area here in the greater Tampa Bay area, so what's really cool is when I start seeing some of the same snowbirds come back each year. So it's like I'll go through the summer and I won't see them, and then I'll, November will hit, and then I'll see all these people like, hey, Frankie, do you remember us? We bought your CD last year. We're from Wisconsin, and we come here every year. And I'll get fun little messages sometimes, either on Facebook or on Instagram, of someone like taking a picture of the CD and saying, oh, I'm in Wyoming right now and listening to this. So that's always cool that they tell me where they're listening from. It's really cool. So yeah, there's all that kind of stuff, and there's there's kids, a lot of kids, and I don't know if it's because I'm only 4'11". I kind of have like a childlike look to myself, but it's always cool when I see little kids getting into the music. That's always just kind of warms my heart. Sometimes kids will come up and they'll just be like mesmerized, and then the parent will send me a message on social media saying, oh, well, my kid wants to take guitar lessons now. So I think that's really cool.
Oh, that's cool.
That's cool. Yeah, because you're inspiring a whole new generation to continue on that process of making music. Because a lot of people, they don't use the instruments in music these days. Everything's computer driven. They got the beat on the computer, and I love it when people pick up an actual instrument and play it.
Absolutely. Amen.
All right.
So let's roll another commercial, Beem.
All right. We're going to play a commercial for Mark Herndon's The High Road.
What drives a man to spend 26 years performing night after night? To persevere through a stifling tour bus, bad food, strange women, flared tempers, a plane nearly blown from the sky. Just how did that troubled military brat with a dream claw his way from dirt floor dive bar shows to the world's biggest stages? Aviator, author, and country music Hall of Fame drummer Mark Herndon lived that dream playing with Alabama, one of the most popular and celebrated bands of all time. He learned some hard lessons about people and life, the music industry, the accolades and awards, how easy it is to lose it all, and how hard it is to survive, to embrace sobriety, to live even one more day. Herndon's poignant memoir offers a tale at once cautionary and inspirational, delightful and heartbreaking, funny yet deeply personal. From innocence to rebellion to acceptance, can a man still flourish when the spotlight dims? Are true forgiveness, redemption, and serenity even possible when the powerful say everything you achieved somehow doesn't even count? That you're not who you and everyone who matters thought you were? Find all this and more in Mark's remarkable memoir, The High Road, Memories from a Long Trip, proudly published by Fresh Ink Group in paperback and ebooks, and now in the keepsake dust-jacketed hardcover edition demanded by true fans. Mark Herndon refuses to slow down, so look back, look ahead, and join him on the trip. He's taking the high road.
Good book.
Yeah, that is an exceptional memoir. Mark does not sugarcoat anything. He lays his flaws out and lets you know that, hey, he's human too. Now, Frankie, you've been performing on tour and doing, like we mentioned earlier, 388 gigs in 1 year. And you're performing in back in November of 2021 at the prestigious Frank Brown International Songwriters Festival. Tell us a little bit about that. What was that like?
That was an incredible experience. It was my first year attending, and I was fortunate enough to been able to play 3 separate shows, and that was just really incredible. Probably the most notable was at the Floribama, which is a pretty big venue right there on the Florida-Alabama coast, and I got to play in the main listening room, and it was incredible because you could literally just hear a pin drop, and the room was packed, and every single person was just hanging onto your every word, and it was really it was just really inspiring to just kind of feel the energy in the room, and everyone's just completely still. And there are certain words in my songs. I kind of sometimes write with like a witty kind of like tongue-in-cheek kind of way, and sometimes sarcastic, and I would sing something when maybe I'd sing one of my more humorous lyrics, and they would actually laugh, and I'm like, oh, you actually like caught it, because I play originals at gigs, and there are people who listen to them and they clap and then say, oh, I'd like to buy a CD, and that's cool, but it's still at a restaurant or bar and it's noisy, and they're not really listening to every single word. They're more just listening to like the melody or the tempo. But at the festivals like these, they're listening to everything, and the stories that you tell in between the songs they're listening to that too. And just a very, very it was a great experience. It was inspiring.
So
that's cool.
You make a connection there. That's what's got to be the payoff right there. You've made a connection with people.
Practically interactive.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And the other songwriters you meet are really nice. I have so many more music friends now that just from doing these festivals, and it's cool because they're from all over. Some of them from all over the coast, and even when I go to California to do the NAMM convention, I've got some good friends that I talk to all the time that are up in Boston, and it's kind of this thing where it's just like, yeah, if you're ever in my area, let me know. We'll book you a show, and it's like, okay, likewise. So you build this community throughout the entire country. It's just awesome.
Oh, yeah. Now, Frankie, 2 companies out there have been smart enough to recognize talent and a class act and have artist deals with you. I think we should show them some love. You want to tell us who those 2 companies are and how great?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Mogami Cables, can't go wrong with Mogami. They last forever.
They do.
Yeah, it's just really awesome. Yeah, very, very sturdy and great customer service and great representatives. And then G7 capos, I've been using those forever. They just have a real sturdy hold and durable, long-lasting. And
tell us what they are in case we don't know.
Oh, yeah. Capo or capo, some people pronounce it differently, but a capo is just a quick way to change the key signature of a song or the key that the song is in. So, like for me, I have, I guess a higher voice, and when I sing, so if I'm singing, if someone requests some like song that's really low, like 16 tones or something, and if I don't have the time to if I just want like a quick way to kind of transpose it, I could just slap on the capo, and then yeah.
So people will recognize those as that thing that's short.
Yeah, it's like you'll see it on the fretboard. Yeah,
on the
definitely. And then and notable mention too with those 2 companies. So it was Mogami and G7, but notable mention is Sunburst Gear or Elite Acoustics. They were the company that was so nice to invite me out to the NAMM show, National Association of Music Merchants, all 3 years that I went. They were the company that I kind of was representing, and they sell portable, battery-operated, or rechargeable PA systems, basically. So they're just these, tiny, they sell bigger speakers as well, but the little portable PA system that I have. It's just this tiny little thing, and it's great for if you're wanting to, go to a park and and play some tunes and have just a little bit of sound, but nothing too crazy. So they're another company that I'm close with as well.
Cool. So where do we buy your music?
My music is available pretty much wherever you could buy music. You could stream it, Spotify, Apple Music, Pandora, all of those platforms, and then you could purchase my music on iTunes and on my website, and as always at my live shows as well.
All right. So, do you have a music philosophy?
Ooh.
Yeah, that's a good one. I'm kind of thinking about that one since you
I got my pen ready. Let's have it.
I think my philosophy has changed a lot because I think you're always learning and growing and you're coming up with new, revelations, so to speak. But I'd say right now the one that's kind of guiding my life is to just do your thing. Just do. I mean, there were so many times, like, even songs that I think turned out really well where I would, just play maybe the demo version for someone and it would just immediately, like, I don't know, either shoot it down or everyone always wants to give advice. I think that's the biggest thing. Everyone just always wants to give advice and they think that their way of doing it is the best way. And I think sometimes you just have to follow your heart. If there's a song that you really like and you're into it and you want to release it and everyone else hates it, just you go ahead and you release that song that you want to release because you can't please everyone. You just gotta know what you want and not be afraid to kind of stand your ground. If you're in the studio and you think this one thing sounds cool and you're into it, and I guess quick example, I recorded a song a few months ago, and my brother is also really into music, and right now he's doing a lot of producing and all of that, and I sent him the track to kind of mix and master, and he had cut out like an entire pre-chorus or like part of it, and lyrically it kind of made the lyrics not make sense. And he was thinking, he's like, yeah, but it needs to get right to the hook of the song. And I was kind of like, well, I don't really care about the hook. I kind of care about saying what I need to say. So I made him put it back in. But that's one of those examples. I knew in my heart that taking those lyrics out loses such a big part of the song, so who cares if it, and he's thinking in terms of like radio and hits and hooks and all of that. And I'm just really not into all
Typical
that.
Producer.
So I was like, yeah, exactly. And I would never say anything bad about that because you need those people. You need those.
Yeah.
That's that classic tale of the artist butting heads with, the techie producer guys, but, and I love them to death, but I was like, you need to put that back in. Like, I'm not telling my story unless this is in there. And so we put it back in, and he still thinks, it takes too long to get to the hook. And I'm like, well, I don't really care about the hook, and everyone else can hate it. I'm satisfied with it. So sometimes you just have to be like that. So that's probably my biggest, my guiding philosophy right now and what I'm really learning for myself, honestly.
Well, on the flip side of that, I don't know if you're familiar with the Mamas and the Papas.
Yeah.
The group. Yeah. Okay. Well, one of their songs, Monday, John Phillips, he was the leader of the band. He wrote the song. They recorded it. He heard the playback, and he said, "Dump that. It's garbage. It's horrible." And the producer said, "No, that's a hit." And he said, "No, it's not. Dump it." But the producer was also the record company head. He released it anyway, and it became their biggest single. So they're the opposite of it, where kind of butting heads with the producer, and the producer was right.
Yeah, well, even Alanis Morissette, I just watched her documentary Jagged, and the Glenn Ballard, who she was working with, she didn't want Ironic to be on the album. She's like, no, like it's that song. I don't want that on there. And he said, are you kidding me? Like, this is great. And I think for him, he was like, it's like Raye. Like he said, that's such a big hook. And he's like, no, we got to keep this on there. And then that was one of the singles on the album.
that was a huge single. That's one you can still hear on the radio to this day.
Yeah, I get a lot of requests for it all the time.
So, FrankieRaye.com, FrankieRaye.com. That's where they can find your schedule, find out where you're appearing, and learn more about you. And you got songs on there, is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a few songs on there, and I have some videos as well. And I have links to all of everything, all the social media and streaming sites and all that.
Great. Can people contact you through there? You have a contact form?
I do, yeah. I have a contact page, and you can send a message to the number there or just fill out the little email box, and then it goes right to me.
Okay, so that's FrankieRaye.com, but your YouTube channel is Frankie Raye Music?
Yes, my website is the only thing that's just Frankie Raye, FrankieRaye.com.
Okay.
And then everything else, all of my social media handles, YouTube, Spotify, all of that stuff is all Frankie Raye Music.
Are you on Instagram also?
Yes, that's also Frankie Raye Music.
Great, and I'll bet you like to hear from fans, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I love it.
Yeah.
I love getting messages.
Yeah, and of course, anybody out there listening to this now or years from now, if you can't remember all the details and you want to track Frankie Raye down, use the contact form at freshinkgroup.com, and we'll make sure she hears about you.
Yeah. And if you buy her music and you listen to it, make sure you leave reviews where you can. This is important.
Yes.
Thank
Especially
you.
at Amazon.
Appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah, those 5 make all the difference in the world.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
spread the word.
Yeah.
Frankie,
Oh,
it's been a
thank you,
hoot having you on. This has been a lot of fun. I really enjoyed your music. I enjoyed the advanced research, going and checking out the video and all that. Beem and I watched your stuff together, and we just kept commenting like, "Wow, she's good. This is going to be cool."
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. It's been fun talking to you guys. You're very comfortable.
And then you get a new album out or something like that, rattle our cage. Maybe we can get you back on again and talk about that. Listen to some more Frankie Raye music.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you. Yeah,
so Beem, who do we have next week?
Next week we have Australian author. G'day there, A.K. Allis. So he's calling in from, I believe it's Perth. So tune in for that. He's a up-and-coming author, and he's got a book out and an audio book that he will be out here promoting next week.
Yeah, and the reason I keep timing these so you're the one who announces him is because I don't do Australian. So
G'day there, mate.
Each week you get to say, of course, next week he's on, so that's when we run out. But the week after that, Patricia A. Guthrie, author of Legacy of Danger, she's putting out a new book called Eerie Charms of the Short Story. And she's going to be coming on to talk about that. And then after that?
After that is Missouri author D. Ike Horst. This is David Eichhorst, but he writes under D. Ike Horst. So tune in for that. He's an interesting guy. And after that?
A reminder, on the 23rd of March, we're doing crossover episodes with Rob and Joan Carter of Carter Novels. They've got their Meet the Author podcast. And for an hour, it's a video podcast. I'm going to be their guest. And as soon as I'm going to click over and become the host of this podcast again, and they're going to call in for our podcast as well. So we're going to spend some time with Rob and Joan Carter in video formats, audio formats. Scratch and sniff. There's no telling what might happen that night.
And then after that, we have on March the 30th, author Dee Wallace Peach. She's a fantastic writer, has loads of books and stories out there. So we will be getting to know her, and she's a very interesting person. I just read 10 things that you probably don't know about me about her, and I didn't know any of these things about her, and just a fascinating person. So that'll be a fun time. So be sure to tune in March 30th.
So Frankie Raye was our guest tonight. Frankie, thanks again for being here.
Yeah, Frankie,
thank you so much for having me.
Taking time out of your Wednesday.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a blast.
And I believe this is your only night off this week from performing. Isn't that right?
It is.
If you're in Florida, get down there and see her.
Yeah, go check it out.
Absolutely.
Or wait till she sells out that arena tour.
Hopefully. Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week.
We'll see you all next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
You've been a part of Voice of Indie, a production of Fresh Ink Group. Spread the word, support our guests, then find us at freshinkgroup.com and be sure to hashtag Fresh Ink Group.